tells me at this point it's their words. This fella's words, and my words. My words. My words.
So I think this is a first for me. It's the first time I've ever interviewed anybody who's created a choreo poem. And excuse my ignorance, but what exactly is that?
A choreo poem, I guess you would say I describe it as movement with language, essentially, is the work. In my undergrad, I studied physical theater,
Okay.
specifically the Suzuki method and viewpoints, and it's kind of it's a marriage of those ideas, I guess you could
Mhm.
say, with choreo poetry. And then I was fortunate enough to have a dramaturg consult with Sydney Mahoney, and she was the original dramaturg on "When the Rainbow Isn't Enough" for Color Girls Who Have
Brilliant
Considered
piece.
Suicide,
Mhm.
and that is the origins of choreo poetry.
Okay. What happens in Boys in Chelsea? Is it completely autobiographical?
Yes, it is. I say semi-autobiographical because I take myself from the age of 18 to 28, and
Yeah.
it's looking at the years from 2006 to 2016. Um,
So without giving it all away, in your own words, can you briefly explain to us what it's about?
yes, yeah, this is always the tricky dance. I
I ask it to you.
So essentially the work it focuses on I would say it's a coming out tale I try to document again from 2006 to 2016 what that looked like in American culture, and it involves some trauma, but specifically um, uh, the story follows navigating that trauma and trying to access a police report from the NYPD. And in that, there's elements of New York history and the root of this coming out tale. I guess in a vague bubble.
Ryan, why was it so important for you to tell us this story and in this way?
I guess it's like I do a part of the theme. It's almost it's a bit meta. Like I speak on the writing process and the work, but uh, I do speak in the work as well that everyone has a story, and I think we all do have a story, and I think storytelling is how we survive and how we pass on what we gathered, and so I guess I arrived to that chapter in an actor's life in New York where you write your solo play, you write your one person play,
Yeah.
and but this the way the poetry I was writing the choreo poems. It all just it seemed this is how I found my voice. I was doing a lot of Susan Laurie Parks. She does these works called Watch Me Work, and so I
Yeah.
was attending those and making the practice of writing, and in that I had the reveal that this is my voice and this is how I express myself, and yeah, language with rhythm and some movement seems to be the avenue I chose or chose me.
So Ryan, you've been this has been quite a journey of a few years now. And what's evolved more, the play, the piece, or you, or both?
Oh wow. I guess I guess I would say both. I would hope both.
Mm.
I I would say from yeah, I was very much I felt like I was almost publicly workshopping it.
Yeah.
And I was really very precious with the work, and I had a friend step on William Alexander Reynolds, who
Mm.
directed the play about 2 years ago. And in that moment, it was really when like the language was finalized. Like it was still like I was still like I guess loosey goosey with some with how the epilogue was going. And so I think that was actually kind of always evolving.
Mm.
And about 2 years ago, it's sort of with my friend's direction, it took the shape came to like the beginning,
Yes.
middle, the end, and so it's been great to explore the movement, and then yeah, the physicality came to like a final realization. And I hope, yeah, I hope along the way, I think I've just gotten older, so it's also I'm
We've all been there.
further,
Yeah.
I'm further from this caricature of myself, I say.
It's a caricature. What do you want us to take away from it?
I think the biggest takeaway I've learned over the years, I think that's what I've learned, that people take away what they take away.
Yeah,
But I think the biggest thing for me is that it is an act of political theater. It is
yeah.
a call to reform the NYPD's Freedom of Information Law unit.
Mm,
How I kind of pitch the play is that I'm not the only girl in this town trying to get a police report.
yeah,
And it was very making the work that was the most eye-opening to me
yeah.
is that this is not, yeah, folks can get
Mm.
reports that they should have access to, and so that's ultimately the takeaway I hope for.
Is it important to you that gay history is kept in our own hands?
Yes, yeah, 100%. And I think I'm one of the I say the play speaks to many themes or many elements, but I there is an energy of a millennial perspective of the AIDS crisis in New York, and I
Yeah.
speak and hope to honor St. Vincent's Hospital, and so I hope that I'm doing justice to the path I'm following through on, and speaking of New York's
Yeah.
legacy and those who came before me, who I could run around this town and say these words.
Yeah. No, it's important that because you are so much younger, you're part of it. What was interesting to me is this is so far from mainstream because you started this in a hairdresser's in Brooklyn, about to appear in Stonewall Inn, and at the same time, I have somebody at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and he said to me he went to play about a sauna in some tiny hall, which was like a sauna itself. So I'm really pleased that we've not gone completely mainstream in what we do.
No, yes, I think this is I like to call it a downtown New York play, and I was just performing it recently at St. Vincent's Triangle, at the New York City AIDS Memorial, and that felt like it's a proper street political theater, a little guerrilla theater, no permit, just taken to the streets.
Yeah.
So that is the origins of this work.
What's next for the work after this?
I guess honestly, I think there may be some I may be able to make some stops up in the Berkshires. I mean, I don't want to jinx myself, but yes, yeah, it's always I guess it's I've learned in the last I guess I've learned in the last few weeks actually with coming off of performing it in the park that really to enjoy the ride and
Yeah.
that you're not really sure where you're going to end up. But Stonewall was not on my radar, and it seems to be exactly where I've been heading all along.
So, and what's next for you after this?
It's interesting. It's so funny. I always, when I get asked that question, I'm still like, I'm tooting the horn of this play.
Okay.
I do have a work that I've been editing for years, and I'm kind of, it's called the loose title is Pandemic Faggotry, but it's a documentation of March 2020 to March 2021 in New York, and just navigating being a single gal in a
Mhm.
pandemic town. And so and again, it's also political theater, of course.
Are you aiming this at us the gay audience, or do you want straight people in there? And if so, why?
I mean, of course, I want to be with community. I want the I want the support of community, but I
Yeah.
do want I think I want straight folks in there mostly because I do think the theme of the call, the act for reform within the NYPD's Freedom of Information Law unit. I mean, up until recently, there was a young woman who was she was only 18. She was found supposedly she had killed herself in the Bronx. She was taken from the NYPD or by the NYPD on July 4th. And her family at this moment is trying to get access to those police reports. And she was a young queer woman. And they're claiming she killed herself, but her mother is advocating to get the footage of the body cam footage, and they're not able to do that right now. So I
Yeah.
hope that this work, it is a call for action. And unfortunately, her name is Sanaya Cheatham, and that's there's not a lot of movement on in New York right now, but it's just one of the most recent cases of of how, and again, she was queer, but also it steps outside to the bigger call for action there.
This is not a good time for our community. We're going to run your details of where it's the Stonewall Inn, and we're also going to run your website details so they can pester you where you're next. But thank you for talking to us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
I hobble into the New York City Police Department's 10th precinct with my cane, my walking cast,